Hey everybody, I'm Brian.
Hello everybody, this is Joe G.
Hey, I'm Shannon.
Hi, I'm Ron.
Hey, this is Steve.
Oh, and we can't forget about Marcel.
Oh, hey.
I'm muted. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
And good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Mr. Ron, welcome, Ron.
I'm doing great. Good to see you all this morning.
Good morning.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll just kind of just jump into this. You know, obviously our guest here is Ron Marsh from Ron Strengths and Things. You've got quite the YouTube following on your YouTube channel, Ron Strengths and Things. How did you get into the hobby? What brought you into doing YouTube?
Well, now that's two different questions. Let's start with the first one. As far as how I got into the hobby, I've been a rail fan since, well, as early as I can remember. I grew up on a farm in west central Missouri between two railroad towns. And when I was a kid, my dad would buy feed supplements and unload them out of boxcars right off the team track off the Gulf Mobile in Ohio. And then in one town, and then the other town where I went to school, what I consider my hometown, was a Mopac town. And so I grew up there. You know, my grandmother lived in town and not far from the tracks, and grew up counting rail cars and watching cabooses go by. And so I've been a rail fan since I was a kid. Wasn't until I was in my 20s that I really discovered the hobby of scale model railroading. And that happened to be on vacation in Florida, and we were at one of these huge permanent flea markets, and there just happened into a model railroad shop, and kind of looked around, and of course, you know, I'd seen some train toys, you know, as a kid and through the years, but that just floored me. And I told my wife at that time, I said, I'm trading all of my other hobbies for this one. And that's exactly what I did. That's 25 years ago, and this is pretty much it. This is what I do. So.
And you started in HO, wasn't it, Ron?
Well, I planned to start at HO when I first got into the hobby. Of course, I was, you know, young. We were moving around a lot, and so I started collecting HO stuff. My plan was to model Missouri Pacific. That was the railroad that I grew up with, and to model HO. And for about 3 or 4 years, I collected a lot of HO stuff. But we moved a lot, and it just didn't. Building a layout didn't seem to be happening. So I thought, well, I need to do something that's portable that I can take with me when we move. So I went to a hobby shop in Kansas City and thought, you know, I'm just going to pick up a little in-scale stuff and just build a little layout that I could just practice doing some scenery. I could do something. So I bought, in fact, I bought this locomotive right here. First in-scale locomotive I ever bought, and built a layout around it. Missouri Pacific in the UP merger era. And I fell in love with in-scale, and a few years later I sold all my HO stuff on eBay and never looked back. So been an in-scaler ever since.
Interesting. Yeah,
that was 1999. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what well, going from there, what brought you into YouTube? Like how did you decide, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm going to start putting this on YouTube. What was your inspiration for that?
Well, I'll give a little backstory there. Of course, I've always lived in kind of small rural areas and never had much model railroad community around me. So I've always been kind of a lone wolf modeler. And then it's probably 3.5, 4 years ago, I was stuck away from home somewhere with nothing to do for a weekend except I had my laptop and the internet, and somehow happened across a model railroad channel on YouTube and started watching some videos and flipping through. And honestly, what ended up happening that weekend was I found Ken Patterson, his old monthly What's Neat show. And at that point, I think he had been doing that for about 4 years, and I binge watched every episode that he had made over the course of that weekend. And as I watched, I thought, I could do this. And and what I really thought was, I think I've got something that I could contribute to give back to the hobby. I had tried to write some magazines, some articles for a couple of model railroad magazines. That is a lot harder to get into than it ought to be. A lot harder than you might think. So anyway, I just thought, this might be a good way to make some connections with some people and kind of, get involved in some model railroad community in a way that I don't have an opportunity to do locally. And then, so I had that kind of rolling around in my head for about 6 months. And then I got to following Eric Hall's channel, IMRROCom, and watching, at that time he was doing 4 days a week, was doing daily vlogs on work that he was doing on his model railroad, which I just really enjoyed doing, enjoyed watching. And he had a contest, the Big Build contest version 2. And I thought, hey, this would be a good opportunity. The whole idea there was you build either a kit structure or a scratch build, kit bash, whatever, something, and video it, make a series of videos, upload them to YouTube channel. So I started my YouTube channel in April of 2017, specifically, originally, to enter into that contest. And after the contest was over, I just kept making videos, and the rest, I guess, is history.
Well, yeah. Well, I take it off of the Big Build contest from Eric Hall. You started your own contest. I want to talk a little bit about that, the history of that, and maybe some of the past winners.
Yeah. Past winners. You're going to tax my memory here, but we'll come back to that. Really, having entered the Big Build contest and gotten connected with Eric that way, Eric and I just became friends pretty quickly through YouTube. We connected on Facebook and have been pretty good friends ever since. And so as I was building my channel, he kind of became my early advisor. I mean, he'd been doing YouTube for a long time, and they gave me a lot of tips and pointers and ideas. And so really the idea of doing a contest of some kind came from him originally. And at the time, I thought, a weathering contest sounds like it would be, a lot of fun. It's kind of in my wheelhouse, something that I would really enjoy. So I decided to do a weathering. Again, I had no idea what I was doing, but we kind of made it up as we went. Eric was already connected with Stephen Atwell, who's the owner of Midwest Model Railroad, and he got us hooked up together. And so he has been the sponsor of the prizes for the first 2 down and dirty weathering contests, and those were a lot of fun. Now the first one was a little too complicated, and so we kind of made some adjustments as we did the second one. I had planned to do the third one this winter. There's just a lot of reasons that didn't work out, but I certainly do plan to do a third down and dirty weathering contest. It's been, I haven't had huge numbers, being actually entering in the contest. I had about a dozen contestants both times, but a lot of people have really enjoyed watching the videos of all of the contestants. Yeah. So I think that makes it worthwhile.
I've got
your first winner of your contest, it was John Crowdis.
That's right. The first one was John Crowdis, which is JC's weathering on YouTube now. JC's Rip Track. I'm sorry. Yeah, he does weathering. Thank you. Yeah. And John's done really, really well. I mean, I enjoy his channel, and I've enjoyed watching him grow through that. And it's rewarding to see somebody who was kind of inspired because of what I was doing to get in and then be successful at the Model Railroad YouTube thing too. So,
Ron,
we learn a lot from you, Ron. I mean,
well,
definitely, my internet dropped out, so I I don't know if this question's been asked, but I'm curious. What's your favorite thing to do? Because you are so good at scratch building and weathering and all that. What do you have a favorite part of the hobby, or do you just like it all?
Well, I've got a few favorites, and I've got some definite least favorites. I kind of enjoy it all. When I told my wife I was trading all my hobbies for this one, that was kind of a cheap shot, because a lot of my old hobbies are included in this one. I've done some woodworking since I was a kid. Done a little bit of construction work at one time. So I enjoy building the bench work. What I fell in love with that was new in model railroading was building scenery. I love doing scenery. I love the change that you make doing scenery. And I really like operations, and that's something that's been a little newer to me as I've gotten more involved in the community over the last 4 or 5 years, to be able to get and I've got to travel. I mean, to do operations from here, I got to go to Kansas City. It's a 2-hour drive, but it's been fun to do that. I really enjoy that. The things I don't love is I'm not a fan of ballasting. I'd rather take a beating than spend it all day ballasting track. That's probably the biggest one. And the other fun thing about it is, as the hobby has grown and changed over the last few years, it's given me an opportunity to get in, to try my hand at some things that I really hadn't done before. I didn't have much experience in, but I've enjoyed learning. And that's, of course, a lot of the electronics, the higher end tech stuff, the Arduino stuff. I really love playing with that. I'm totally learning, because that's not my background at all, but it's a lot of fun.
I don't like wiring.
Yeah. Just before we keep going, I did have something from Roy Smith from NSCOL Union Pacific.
Panama.
Hey, Roy.
All the way from Panama. I'm guessing this was in response to something you said earlier. He was saying, absolutely, Ron, YouTube is especially great when you live and model in isolation, such as in Panama.
I'm sure that's true, yes.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
And another thing I'm getting a couple of words from is some of us are having some sort of microphone problem. The audio's a bit low. And Brian's just dropped out. What's going on?
He lost power.
Oh, did he? Oh, that'd be right.
Yeah.
That'd be right.
Excuse me.
So yeah, now, crap, I had a question. Now I've forgotten. I've been distracted. That'd be bloody right.
So Ron, where's the hobby taking you? Like, I see now that you're now affiliated with the Model Railroad Academy. How'd that come about? What's that like?
That was a total surprise. And I'll say this, we talked about, starting the channel, and after I made the first 3 videos for the big build contest, I decided, well, I'll keep doing some how-to videos. I had kind of thought originally about doing more of a variety type of channel, doing some prototype videos, doing some interviews, doing a little bit of, several different things. All of that stuff flops on my channel. What people love on my channel is the how-to stuff. So that's kind of what I stuck to. The channel took off and grew quickly in a way that I really did not expect. And about 6 months in, and I was at about 2,000 subscribers, I think, at the time. I just out of the blue got an email from somebody at Model Railroad Academy and said, "Hey, we've come across your channel. You obviously have some skill in model railroading, and we really like your on-camera personality. Would you be interested in partnering with us to make some videos for Model Railroad Academy?" To which, after I got up off the floor having fainted, I said, "Yeah, sure. What are you thinking? What are you looking at?" And so we kind of talked back and forth for 3 or 4 months. And then I originally contracted with them to make some standalone classes. They of course have the website, which is a subscription website, but they also sell some standalone classes, like back in the day when you used to buy a DVD, when it was yours. These you purchase these classes. They're like 90 minutes. They cover a topic from start to finish. And when you purchase those, it's not dependent upon the subscription. It's yours forever. So they asked me to make a couple of those, and I did. And then they got me started doing some live streams. I do a Facebook live stream every other Friday on Model Railroad Academy's Facebook page. I also do some live streams for their gold level members. And then some new stuff that we've just started for a new subscription tier that they're doing, which is their platinum level. I just got back last weekend from Minneapolis, where they flew me up there to do 3 live streams in their studio on a Friday for all 3 of those things. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been an interesting learning experience. And you know, they're good folks. They're a good company. They put out good products. So I'm proud to be connected to them that way. Model Railroad Academy.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Um,
So, just because of your demeanor and stuff like that, I hear somebody is actually giving you a nickname. Can you talk about that and maybe who gave that to you?
One of the people that I've really been kind of honored to get to know really well has been Lionel Strang. Lionel was an associate editor at Model Railroader when I first got into the hobby. So you know, he was a name that I knew. I was familiar with his old layout and his writing, and was fortunate enough to connect with him through his podcast and also through YouTube Model Builders at the time, now Model Railroading Live. But anyway, we kind of connected through that. And we've become pretty good friends. And yeah, Lionel calls me the Ward Cleaver of model railroading. Okay.
Yeah. Just before we keep going, have a couple of things a couple of guys in the chat said. Dale PR Guy Bass. Ron's tips are awesome. I love the one on curves and easements for track I used on my N-scale layout. And Leslie Gilpin was saying Ron's videos are great for referring back to. So, you know, as you can see, a lot of people in the community actually, you know, do watch your videos, Ron, and, you know, like you can tell everyone does enjoy them. You know, I've known about you, God, I don't know, I've had YouTube for years, and, you know, when I started looking up things on more railroading and, you know, searching things, I remember your videos was probably like every second one that popped up, you know, on how to do this, how to do that. I was like, okay. So
I learned how to solder from you, Ron.
Well, that's scary, but don't tell Eric Hall that, because of course, you know, he made a living soldering microcircuits, so he's never impressed with anybody soldering. But you mentioned that curves and easements video. That was one of my early videos. That's in like the first 6 months of the channel, and I made that in response to a question somebody had asked about how to lay out curves and easements, and you know, and that was a video that took off slow, but it is one that keeps coming back, and today it is my most viewed video ever, with about 110 or 112,000 views on that particular video. So
Unbelievable.
yeah. No, it's good.
So, what are your own personal favorite videos that you've made? Like, and what videos do you watch? What do you look for on YouTube?
Well, I'll say this: as far as what I watch, I don't watch as much as I used to. Mostly just because I don't have time to watch as much as I used to, because I've got I'm trying to make too many things. But the ones that I really love to watch, of course, Luke Towan, who honestly, Luke, of course, started in model railroading. Now his channel is less model railroading, more of the scenery, the diorama kind of thing. But I love what he's doing, and I may be letting the cat out of the bag, but he's got an upcoming video on he's building a 20-story skyscraper in HO scale, and he's 3D printed furniture and figures to detail about 20 or 30 rooms and light, and I can't wait for that to come out. I'm very excited about that. So I love Luke Towan's stuff. What else do I watch? There are several channels that don't publish as often, but I like their stuff whenever they come out. Yeah, now I'll draw a blank. I recently met Dean, and I'm trying to remember Dean's last name. But he has an N-scale layout in North Texas. He's actually an executive with BNSF, and he has a spectacular layout and does great operations-oriented videos. And I'll say his channel name in just a minute whenever whenever it comes back to my mind.
Okay, well,
There's a BNS supervisor that models N-scale. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, I've got a couple more things from chat. Claude from Cowboy Valley and Timberline Junction. Ron was one of the very first channels I subbed to when I got back into model railroading. Fred Wild. I love Ron's videos, not just because of the content, but also because of his quality.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, and that's, of course, talking about YouTube is a whole different subject than talking about model railroading. And, of course, for me, they're both pretty important. But to me, and this is just kind of how I approach everything anyway, it's how I approach work, whatever. I'm always asking myself the question, how can I make this better? I made a habit from early on that I'll go back a month, 6 weeks after my own videos come out and re-watch them as if I've never seen them and ask myself, okay, how could I improve this if I was going to do it again? It's because that helps me make my next videos better. And I also, take some time to study YouTube a little bit. I watch a couple of channels that are specifically on building YouTube channels that really help me to know, because there's some stuff that I think, okay, this is what I would like, but the YouTube community, what it likes isn't always what I would like. And for example, just recently in the last month, I made some changes to my format, and one of those was I really shortened down my intro, took out the intro with my intro music that I personally loved, and put in a little short, just a 4-second kind of a channel intro thing. And I've had a few people say, "Oh, I miss the intro music." Yes, but the drop off in the first 30 seconds of my videos is cut in half. So, again, that's about learning YouTube as well as learning model railroading. Right. People have extremely short attention spans, and on YouTube you can lose them in about 4 seconds on YouTube. So
now, how long does it take from when you decide you're going to do a subject on your channel? How much time to shoot it, edit it, and get it out on YouTube? I mean, your personal time that you spend to put that video out and work.
Right. And that varies a lot depending on the type of video it is. The last few weeks I've been doing some reviews, and I got a couple more of those coming out, which are not the most popular on my channel, but I thought they were important videos to make, and so I'm getting them out there. Those I can shoot fairly quickly. Because I can sit down, open a locomotive, and do a review of it aesthetically at my workbench, and I can do that in an hour, shoot it in an hour. Take it out to the workbench, get some videos of the sound, of the movement, that sort of thing. I can shoot that video in a couple of hours, and the narration is already built into it, so I can usually edit it in a couple of hours, and so I'm up and going. If I do a build video, then of course you're spending a lot more time doing the build, so you're shooting a lot longer. Plus, those videos are a lot better if I do a voiceover. So after I shoot it, I got to figure out what I want to include. Then I've got to write a voiceover. I got to record the voiceover, and then you got to clip all of that together. So that can take however many hours you spend on the build, and then it can take 6 to 8 hours to edit. So it varies a lot. There are weeks when it becomes a pretty good part-time job sometimes.
You'd have to really enjoy doing it, and you do a fantastic job. I was just curious how long it actually took you to put a video together, and that's a lot of work.
It does take a lot of time, and again, it's one of those things that you've got to love it or you're not going to do it for long. I know one of the big controversial subjects among the YouTube model railroad community is the idea of making money at this.
Right. Yeah.
I don't apologize at all for the money that does come in from it, because I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I've always said, all of the money that would come from people is all purely voluntary, because the vast majority of my stuff's all out there for free for anybody anyway. So.
Well, and see, that's the good thing. It is for free, and if people, and you should be rewarded for the amount of work you put in. I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean,
right.
The bottom line is that, like you said, that's a part-time job, and nobody works for free. So I understand that. And I think the community appreciates it too. I do, because some of your videos were some of the first ones that I jumped on a couple of years ago when I got started, and just by accident, and a few others. So so I appreciate that, and I think everybody else here does. Yeah, I see Brian's back.
Yeah,
Hey,
looks like his power's back on.
I lost power.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question or make a statement? Because I wanted to revert back to before I lost power. If I may, about your down and dirty weathering contest, you made a comment, and I wanted to let you know that it is those kind of things that you do are good for other channels. You mentioned that was your down and dirty weathering contest was the very first video I ever did, and that was over a year ago. And I got 100 videos now, and you basically inspired those because that video I had to put my face in it. That was the first one. And
right.
So, it is also the video with the most views on my channel. So I have to thank you for that. You mentioned the views, and that we get a lot of views from those contests, and you're exactly right. And so I appreciate that. And so those things that you do are really great, and they are appreciated. And so when you're able to, time permitting, throw us some more of them. I know Shannon's looking very forward to doing one when you're able to.
Yeah, well, I was just going to jump in before we have one of the viewers say, I wanted to do videos for the last weathering challenge. Now that I can do it, I would like to do a challenge. Are you doing one soon? And that was from Rob Butler. And yeah, I pretty much have the same question. When are you doing the next weathering contest? Because you can ask Brian, when that popped up, I was like, what, there's a weathering contest? When? Where? Who? What? I want to do it now. And I'm asking 101 questions, and I was just going nuts on live stream.
I had planned, I think I said this a while ago, I had planned to do one this winter, just like I have the last 2 years, doing it like January, February. The better part of the last year has been a little insane for me, just on a personal level and a work level. And so nothing on the channel has gone the way I had planned for it to over the course of the last year. But anybody who's been following me very closely knows that's turning around, and some of that's changing. So I will be doing another one. I typically like to do those January, February, but since I didn't get one done this year, I don't know that I'm going to wait that long. I just haven't decided for sure. But I promise you there will be Down and Dirty Weathering Contest 3 sometime in the next 12 months.
All right.
All right, well, I'll definitely be answering that, that's for sure. Now,
Awesome.
I'm just looking at the time. We're 30 minutes into the stream, so this is usually when we have our intermission video. So, again, thanks to Brian. Brian has put together another intermission video for us with videos from Ron's channel of Ron's Trains and Things. I haven't seen it yet.
It's a tribute and a look back at Ron's early work.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to sit back and watch it, but, so everyone viewing the stream at the moment is welcome to watch it as well. Otherwise, if thanks, you... Brian has put... I just had an echo. Okay,
that was me. Sorry.
Jeez, that tripped me out. So in saying that, if you want, watch the intermission video, and we'll have a look at Ron's early work when he was first started on YouTube. Otherwise, quickly grab a coffee, go to the toilet, do what you need, grab another brewski or something, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Hi everybody, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, welcoming you to my brand new YouTube channel. Here we're going to be talking about prototype trains, model railroading, and all facets of layout building. As an N-scaler, of course, I'm going to be talking a lot about N-scale. But hey, you HOers and O-scalers, don't tune me out yet, because much of what we'll talk about will also apply to you and your scale as well. We're going to be talking about operations. I'll be sharing tips and techniques and lots of resources, sources of information about your prototype railroad and about how to build a quality layout and quality models for yourself like I do on a budget. As we go, I'll be sharing with you a little bit of my model railroading story, and I hope to learn some of your model railroading stories as well through your questions and comments below. I know this is just my first introduction video, but I hope you'll click that little thumbs up button right there and let me know that you enjoyed it. Also, you can click on the subscribe button and you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon and often here on Ron's Trains and Things. Hi everybody, Ron of Ron's Trains and Things here, and today I'm going to share with you some run-bys that I hope you enjoy. They're going to showcase some of my locomotive fleet and some of my rolling stock, and I hope that's something that you enjoy today. I'm going to share with you a sanding tool that's going to help make your work faster and more efficient on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Well, if you're looking for some great model railroad content, be sure and check out the 2 videos linked on your screen right now. And also be sure and join me each Tuesday as I bring you more great model railroad videos each week, and I look forward to seeing you then.
And we're back. What's going on here? There we go, and we're back.
Wow.
Now, hang on, why's Marcel? Marcel, you're still muted. And I think we lost Marcel.
He'll be back.
Yeah, here we go.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. Now, I did have a couple of other things people have been saying in chat.
Yeah.
Where are we?
Mention that Uncle Wilmer comment.
Hang on. So I've got Container Man 68. I met Ron at the NMRA Convention 2019 in Kansas City. He's a great guy, very likable, but you got to be the fast walker if you want to keep up with him, taking videos and pictures of the layouts. Indian Head Valley
I was
Rail.
working pretty fast and furious that first day at the train show. That's true.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I think most of us is like that when we have a camera. Indian Head Valley Railroad. Ron, do you plan to do any more scratch building of structures anytime soon?
Yeah. Here, somebody who follows my channel knows this about me already. I am a great starter, not always a fantastic finisher. I've got 2 or 3 projects that I've started I need to finish. The Victory Blue build that I started over a year ago. It's a totally scratch built structure, and it still needs to be finished, and I will make video of that. I'm planning to do that this spring. I also started Model Railroader Video Plus. They did this State Line Kit Bash Challenge last year that I started, and I still need to finish. It's still sitting on my workbench. That's a Kit Bash. And I've got several other projects. So yes, I will be doing some more scratch building, and I want to get that Victory Blue thing finished up. So I hope to be working on that and getting video out of that over the course of the next month or so.
I've got a question from Wilmer, Indian Head Valley Railroad. Actually, it's a question I had as well. Basically, how large is your room and your layout in it? And do you know how many feet of track you actually have down? I mean, what's the size of your layout? I mean, it's hard to tell, but it looks.
Yeah, you always see this right here,
right.
And I was trying to think if I could walk around with a camera. It's going to be hard to do. I will say this. Now, I need to make a new update on my layout because it's been a while. But there is actually an update or video that gives a tour of the whole layout on the channel. So if you really want to see it kind of in detail, I'd encourage you to go watch that. There's actually a couple of them. One of them I did live, and one I did for a video.
One, yeah.
But basically, this room is most of the basement of my house. It's an L-shaped room, but it also is our family room and, well, several other kind of a makeshift bedroom. So my layout goes kind of along a Z-shaped pattern along one side of the family room. Over here to my right, just outside of the camera here, it goes through the wall back into our laundry/utility room, and I have a staging yard on each deck back in that room.
That's a great location. I mean, for your family. I mean, a family room with your layout, and that leads me to another question: is we can, I still want to know how big your layout is, but. Is your family involved? I mean, with it being right there, do they like to run the trains, or they just use it for mood lighting?
Yeah, pretty much just for mood lighting. My kids, my kids are 23, 21, and 15. My 2 boys, when they were little, loved the train layout. They've both pretty well outgrown that for now, and I'm still hoping they'll come back to it one of these days. So I would not say that they're highly involved. My youngest son, who still lives at home, the extent of his involvement is holding the white balance card in front of his face so I can take white balance photos to set up my camera. And I did my second anniversary video about a year ago. I actually put a whole clip of those pictures in there just for fun. It's kind of an ode to him. That was a lot of fun. So no, they're not really involved in the hobby at all. Here's the thing that I think is kind of cool. My daughter is 23. She just graduated college a year ago. She's living in Kansas City, and just every once in a while, the place where she's working right now sits right next to a BNSF main line. And once every 3 or 4 weeks, she'll send me a picture of a train and say, "Hey, I saw this today. What is this?" She sent a picture of a Ferromex locomotive here, a while back, and said, "What is this? I've never seen one of these before." So that I guess I instilled a little bit of the train bug in all of them.
Okay.
The nice part about it being here is if I'm just casually working on the layout. Now the person who's down here the most is my son. This is where he plays video games. But we can be doing different things and still be in the same room. They can have something on television. I can still be working on the layout, especially around on the other side. So that part works out really well.
I think that's awesome. I think that's fantastic.
As far as size of the layout is concerned, the visible layout has about 100 feet of main line, and then there's almost another 100 feet in my. I'm almost embarrassed to say it every time I do. I have a 9.5 turn helix, which is huge. But you see how much separation I have between these two decks.
Right.
I knew that I wanted this city scenery on the lower deck. And I also, as you've seen North Yard, I've got 2 large grain elevators on the lower deck, and those grain elevators were really important to me. I grew up on a farm, and where the farm meets the rails has always been fascinating to me. So I knew I needed those on the lower deck, so I knew I needed at least 14 inches of separation, thus 9.5 turns on an N-scale 36-inch helix.
That's look at Brian. He's like, "Yep."
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What type of track for N scale do you recommend? Now, I use Pico normally, but on my helixes, I'm going to consider, because I'm going to have some, I'm going to consider using whatever track is probably best for those. What would you say is the best track for those? I'm sure you're going to say Unitrack probably. No. Okay, good. They're too expensive. So what is the best track?
I'm going to give you a couple of answers to that. The best track depends on what your goals are. If you want
14 inches,
if you want just absolute bulletproof track that is easy to work with, I would recommend Pico track. And if you like in a helix where nobody's really going to pay attention to the track itself, I would use Pico Code 80 Flex Track all day long.
That's what I mean.
My whole layout is Pico Code 80 track and turnouts both. Now, if I was going to do it again, I would probably switch to Code 55 just because it does look a little bit better in photos and that sort of thing. But the Pico track and the turnouts are just pretty much bulletproof. I had used my previous layout. I used Atlas track and Pico turnouts because the Atlas track was a little less expensive.
Correct.
When I started building this layout, would it be 7 years ago, something like that now. That was back in that stage where they had the first big factory meltdown in China, and you could not buy Atlas track anywhere. It was not to be had. So I bought Pico track just because it was the only thing I could get my hands on, and I fell in love with it. That's not. I don't want to disparage Atlas Flex Track, too much there. It's good track. I'm not a big fan of N-scale Atlas turnouts. I've always had a lot of problem with them. Now, if you am I getting too political here? If you want fantastic looking track and the difficulty of working with it isn't an issue, micro engineering makes beautiful track. But it's hard to work with. It's hard to curve. You've got to be very, very careful with it, and it just takes some practice to work with. Whereas you can pick up a piece of Flex Track. I got one just out of reach. You can pick up a piece of Pico Flex Track and just flex it. You can't do that with micro engineering. You've got to work it into a curve because the tolerances are so tight.
Yeah.
So I got some of my
every turnout I have, Ron, is an Atlas turnout.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Ron.
And I will say I will follow that up by saying I have not bought or used an Atlas turnout in 10 years. So I don't know what they've improved and that sort of thing. My first layout had Atlas turnouts, and I did not love them.
And I've gotten really good at making them work and tweaking them.
I got one of these, Ron. The track setters. Have you ever?
Oh
used
yes, I have not, uh, but I, from what I know of them, I've seen them and I've watched other people use them on video. I think they look like a fantastic tool.
I've got a
Now,
I
question.
need some help.
my thing with those, when I got to this layout, I very intentionally wanted to use easements into my curves. And so you could use that for the fixed part of the curve, but you've got to work your way around the easement anyway. So I draw track centers and you know what? If your track is too perfect, it doesn't look prototypical anyway. So
No, that's true.
Well, I
So,
get
Ron,
into situations
what's
where
your-
I
what's
can't
your
solder
favorite-
straight, and I'm thinking that if I'm in a situation like I'm replacing track or bad track, I'm thinking that that track setter will be nice when I'm laying flex in a turn that I can't do straight. You know, to
right.
set that in there, I think that's going to be helpful because I got a couple places when I was very early that the soldering's bad and I need to take them out for reliability. So
Well,
that's my thinking on that.
I did a video, whenever it's a good while back, on I added a curved turnout. In fact, it's right here behind me on this curve. And so literally I'm cutting a section out of an existing curve and then having to solder a curved turnout into that. And that's, obviously one of the challenges you have to meet. And so, yeah, I think that would be a fantastic tool for that. Is that one metal, or they also make wood ones? I know.
It is. It's
That's
metal.
a metal one. Okay.
It's Pico.
Okay.
It's a 12 degree.
Yeah.
Which I think is they might have a 9 too, but I didn't want to fool with that. 12 degree is going to basically give me a 24-inch helix.
Yeah.
So which is perfect because I can set my corners up for that. I'm in a 16 by 10 shed. So.
Awesome.
That's
I've got a
So, Ron,
question
what's
from
your
Dave
fa-
of BNSF Trains wants to know, Ron, are you still body mounting couplers? And if you do you still have them rubbing on the mounting screws?
I body mount couplers, but not on everything.
Okay.
And as far as he's talking about, having the trucks hitting the journal boxes and that sort of thing,
Yeah,
whenever
okay.
you do body mount couplers, and that really comes down to your curve radius.
Okay.
And in my case, I've got minimum radius on my main line of 16 inches. I only actually have one 16-inch curve. Everything else is 18. Just for that reason, because I wanted to run. It's a modern day layout. And so I wanted to run 6-axle locomotives. I wanted to run auto racks, and even 18 inches are a little tight for auto racks, but I can manage it. I body mount couplers on certain things. I've got a ton of Kato coal porters, and those come with truck mounted couplers on the Kato trucks. I like the Kato trucks. I like the fact that they come with metal wheel sets, but those Kato couplers are trash. You can't couple and uncouple them at all. So in that case, I'm cutting all of those couplers off of the trucks and body mounting couplers on that. I body mount couplers on a lot of my longer stuff, and I know people kind of debate back and forth, but literally I have less problems with uncoupling or derailing when shoving longer equipment if I use a body mounted coupler, because it doesn't put as much lateral pressure on the trucks as it goes through a turnout or around a curve.
Now, I've got a question. Since we're talking couplers, obviously you've been in the hobby for a long time. Did you start with knuckle couplers or Rapido? Because everything I have is Rapido. I don't have anything knuckle, with a couple of exceptions, and only it's because I don't want to go through the expense to change everything out. Mine's all pretty cheap. So did you start with that, or did you have to convert everything after you got in?
I started again. I started into the hobby in the mid '90s and really started an N scale in about '99. So at that point, most things that you bought new were coming with knuckle couplers. Micro trains had already become kind of the standard. There was some stuff that I had, again, stuff that was a little bit older at that time that had the old horn hook couplers. But I upgraded all mine to micro trains or similar pretty much right off. But, bear in mind, my first layout was 4 feet square. And so, I had about, a dozen and a half pieces of rolling stock. So if you do that a little bit at a time over the course of 25 years, that expense doesn't seem so, insurmountable as if, well, I just went out and bought, 150 pieces of rolling stock, and now I got to upgrade couplers and wheels and all this stuff. That hurts.
Yeah, I get to the point where it's like, no.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's what I've pretty much done. I've just bought, in bunches, just micro train couplers and just started body mounting whatever equipment I could, locomotives, rolling stock, passenger cars. And now I just, I keep a minimum 50 pairs in stock for, if I do go buy more rolling stock or locomotives, I can, it's there, it's ready to go. And yeah, when I get low on stock, that's when I order more.
And I know a lot of people don't care for like the Accumate couplers that Atlas puts out. I rarely replace those. I don't have the issue with them that some people do. Once in a while, I'll have one that doesn't work, and if I have one that gives me problems, then I'll upgrade it. So I hardly ever replace a truck in N-scale anymore because pretty much everything comes out with either microtrains or Accumate couplers on them. What I do upgrade is I really like metal wheel sets. And so I went, a few years ago, I had whatever it was. It wasn't $100, but I'll say $100 burning a hole in my pocket. And I just went and bought a huge amount of Fox Valley metal wheel sets, and I keep them in a box in there, and and I just upgrade those as I go, because I've got them on hand, so I can do that.
Yeah, no,
I'm one who really loves the sound of that metal wheels going clickety clack around the railroad track.
Yeah, I concur with that.
Yeah, I'd concur with that too. But unfortunately, because of the exchange rates with the American dollar Australia's having at the moment, I ain't gonna buy any wheels right now. Not for at least a couple of years now.
So carrying on with this vein of modifying cars, you were recently in a contest over Christmas holidays. What that and how that came about and who won?
A little micro contest that was set up between myself and Eric Hall, where we were each provided a couple of covered hoppers, and basically given license. Hey, just do something with them, whatever you want to do something with them, and whoever was deemed the winner got all 4 cars. Or let the cat out of the bag, I guess, and say that I'm a winner. I should have staged those right behind me here. I think they're over on the other side of the layout at the moment. But yeah, that was fun. I made a video about it. Custom decaled the cars that I did. Found an app on my phone where you could make custom graffiti, and so I made some custom graffiti for my channel and also for Eric's channel, and printed those out. Made some decals, and then weathered it. Got some prototype photos and weathered those, and that was a lot of fun. And apparently I was deemed the winner because I have all 4 cars on my layout over on the other side. But yeah, Eric and I had a lot of fun with that, and yeah, he comes across as grumpy, but he's a pretty good sport mostly.
Okay, so Ron, do you know what the future of your YouTube channel is going to look like in the future of your layout? Are you going to finish things? Like,
is the layout ever finished? I was watching a piece of that intermission video, and the very first video I ever made before I was actually testing things before that big build contest, and I'd kind of forgotten this. I made a little video of just some trains running around the layout, and watching that a while ago, I noticed two things. I noticed, number one, I've gotten a lot better at learning how to focus a camera, but number two, I noticed, okay, here are the things that have changed since then, and here's an awful lot of things that haven't changed much since then. Yeah, I certainly hope that I've been wanting to get trees and get this mountain scenery back here behind me finished for a long time. And unfortunately, well, you can't see it here, but to my left, where you see the mountains here, that curves around a little short peninsula, and that mountain scene goes, 10 or 12 feet. And I need to make about 1,000 pine trees. And I don't know, but the idea of making 1,000 pine trees doesn't exactly appeal to me. So I've been putting it off, but one of these days I'm going to get that done.
2,000 and send me 1,000
for a small fee.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? It'd probably be worth it. My gosh, making 1,000 of those. I mean, I need at least that. You know.
Well, and those furnace filter trees like these behind me here, like in the video we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, now I get going on those, and if I get all the material set up, I can make about 4 an hour, but that's still a lot of time to make 1,000 trees. This little section that you see right here, and you can see just about the whole section. You can't see all the way to the top. There's 150 trees just in that little section right there, and that's pretty sparse. And I want this over here to be a lot thicker.
I have an idea. Put in a big logging scene. And then you don't have to build them.
just put in stumps.
little stumps.
Stumps on a logging road.
Oh, okay. Now I'm just looking at time. This is normally when we would be wrapping up the show. I guess we could run over time a couple of minutes. Is any last minute questions anyone wants to ask before we do start closing things up?
No, I just want to thank
Ron for we could probably go on for another hour if we wanted to, but no, I think thank you, Ron, for coming on this morning and being a great, gracious guest.
Well, thank you all for having me. I enjoyed it.
Maybe in the future we could do this again sometime.
Yeah, we don't have to say goodbye. We can say see you later or see you next time.
Yeah, because you have a key to the door now, Ron. You can come in anytime you want.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
It sounds good. I'd be glad to come back anytime.
Yeah, drop on anytime you want. Yeah.
It was a pleasure talking with you. It really was. I want to thank everybody in the audience for coming today too and chatting and watching and hanging out with us.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out below the screen, as has been for the last few weeks, there's a little program of what happens during the week with the YouTube channels, who's on, what shows they're running and whatnot. So if you want to check out more videos, have a look at all those people that are there. I hear they do good videos. I haven't had a chance to watch many videos, unfortunately, because an 11-month-old kid does keep you very busy, and with this whole coronavirus BS that we have to deal with, God knows what's going to be happening next.
Yeah, that's another story.
Yeah. So
the beautiful thing is we can all hang out on YouTube. I mean, that's a positive, is we'll all be able to get together on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Also, I'd like to thank Sparky and Norman Ray for moderating the chat for us. I also do know that there is a couple of people in the chat that I think this is the first time they've actually, watched our show.
Yeah.
So it was a great show to actually start watching our channel with.
And we didn't mention anybody in chat today, but we all appreciate you coming. We've been a little busy, but you guys are all appreciated. I flip through, I look at them, and I can't comment to everyone. I go back and look at the chat after the show and go, oh man, somebody was saying something and I didn't say hi. But I'll say hi to everybody now.
Well, one interesting thing to talk about too is we have some new abilities that'll be coming in the future episodes as well for people to come in and hang out with us, don't we, Shannon?
Yeah, we do. So I have updated the chat forum a little bit, so we can have up to a maximum of 12 people in the chat. How that's going to work out, I don't know. I mean, like it's been pretty good with 5 people so far, but if we have 12 people, the video might just sound like a bunch of galahs or something, as we say in Australia.
We'll test it slowly. We'll put our toe in.
Yeah, we'll just put a toe in at a time until we get too cold.
There you go.
But yeah, apart from that, thanks again, Ron, for joining us this morning. And yeah, and hopefully we get to see you again soon in the future. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to email us. We have a Facebook. Our email is backontrackmoderators@gmail.com. Hopefully one of the moderators in chat can just quickly check that up. I don't think I've made a little thing for it on my window here. Again, don't forget, I am running, I am trying to give this away once we hit 50 viewers on a live stream. We have gotten pretty close a couple of times, and frankly, I'm starting to get sick and tired of looking at this every week. So please invite your friends over. Just take this off my hands already, please.
Well, and everybody don't forget to check out Ron's Down and Dirty Weathering Contest 2 videos and leave a comment and like them in hopes that we will push him to have 3.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you go to my channel page under the playlists, there's a playlist for both of the Down and Dirty Weathering Contests that has every video that every contestant made all right there in one playlist, and you can watch all of them there, and it's a great way to see them.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
I'm
you, Ron.
definitely going to be entering, so please don't leave it too long because I will go nuts.
Okay, keep that in mind.
And Brian can account for that because he saw what happened when I just caught wind of it.
Yeah, and in closing, everybody, you guys go ahead and promote your channels and let us know how many subs you got, because we want to know as we wind this thing up.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Marcel, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marcel. And Ron, thank you very much.
Glad to do it. But thank you all for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll have the stream running for a little bit longer, just so everyone can say goodbye. But yeah, so thanks again, and we'll see you all again next week.
Very cool.
Have a great weekend, Ron.
Will do.
Oh, that was awesome.